I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask that you all stand and we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank all of you for coming, certainly for your interest in whatever projects you're interested in today. And with that, Lisa, would you please read the opening statement?
Yes. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority sent its annual meeting schedule for August 2018 through July 2019, setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting to the Secretary of State's office in Trenton, New Jersey, and the office of the Clerk of Atlantic City. The notice was published in the Press of Atlantic City, the Camden Courier Post, and the Newark Star Ledger on July 23rd, 2018, and July 24th, 2018. Members of the press will be permitted to take photographs at today's meeting, providing that it is done in a manner which is not distracting to the authority, nor interferes with the public's right to observe the meeting. Any member of the public who wishes to address the authority regarding items to be presented to the board today will be given the opportunity to do so. Comments regarding any issues that do not appear on today's agenda will be taken during the public comment portion at the end of the meeting. We ask that members of the public who address the board stand and state their name and address for the record each time they speak on an issue. It is also requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes per issue. Notia Butler.
Present.
Deborah DiLorenzo.
Present.
Ed Ginn.
Here.
Mark Antonio.
Here.
Mayor Frank Gilliam.
Here.
Michael Hanley.
Here.
Gary Hill. Howard Kyle.
Here.
William Mullen.
Here.
Kevin Ortsman. James Closes.
Here.
Dave Rebuck for the State Attorney General.
Here.
Maureen Hassett for the State Treasurer.
Here.
Robert Long for the DCA Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Frank Spencer.
Here.
Richard Tolson.
Here.
Chairman Robert Mulcahy.
Present. The next item on the agenda is the ratification of the minutes of the October 16th, 2018 board meeting. I assume you've all read them. Are there any corrections or changes anyone wishes to make? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to ratify the minutes and place them on file.
Move. Motion.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's moved by Jim, seconded by Rich. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next item, I accept a motion to place the treasurer's report on file.
Moved.
Been moved and seconded by the mayor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. There are 3 items that I wish to comment on before we get to the executive director's report. I think it's important to know that as part of the authority's agreement with Comcast, NBC, and Universal/World Long Drive, a feature segment of Janella's Journey on the Golf Channel's Morning Drive show featured Atlantic City. After the show host Matt Janella's first visit to the city, producers realized they had such a great footage that they decided to produce the feature in 2 segments. The first segment aired on September 18th and 19th and were viewed by 9.1 million people, or households. So the Golf Channel has replayed the segment several times since it was initially used. But I don't remember when we've got 9.1 households looking at what we're doing. It's more than Miss America had. The second thing is, we've talked about it, Bob Shaughnessy spent several years representing the treasurer on this board, and we had approved a resolution. I'm not going to read the whole resolution, but I will read the last part, that now therefore it be resolved that the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority hereby recognizes the meaningful contribution of Robert Shaughnessy, the authority, in the city of Atlantic City. And be it further resolved that the members and staff of the authority and citizens of Atlantic City have been well served by Mr. Shaughnessy's service, stewardship, and unwavering commitment to excellence, and we therefore extend our sincere appreciation of Mr. Shaughnessy for his thoughtful guidance and dedication to the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority. I've signed this. We're going to frame it and send it to him. For the record, I'd like a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. I will pass this back before it gets. The second thing is, or the third thing is, for the record, we have received a resolution from the City of Atlantic City, a resolution urging CRDA to initiate improvements to the Renaissance Plaza. Whereas the Renaissance Plaza promised to be a place where residents could shop at a convenient inner-city location with an expectation of safety. Whereas the Renaissance Plaza has fallen sharply from its original promise of being a safe, convenient shopping venue in Atlantic City. Many local residents avoid this area and have a reluctance to shop, and whereas Renaissance Plaza has lost 3 national franchises, McDonald's and most recently Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell, and whereas Renaissance Plaza is now a center of illicit activity and harassment to passersby, which causes public safety concerns, and whereas CRDA is the responsible entity for the Renaissance Plaza, as the responsible entity, the Council of the City of Atlantic City requests the CRDA take the following initial steps to improve and address the public safety concerns in and around Renaissance Plaza: installation of a Genetec security system, which ties into the Atlantic City Police Department, increased exterior lighting, license plate readers in all ingress-egress points, and it was unanimously approved by members of the council. And Matt, I'll turn this over to you.
Yes, sir.
But I wanted to place on record, Councilman, okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's report.
I have a brief report. The last few weeks, the town's been very busy, which is nice to see in the off-season with the League of Municipalities, with the Teachers Conference, and with the school boards. So it just goes to show bringing teachers and politicians to your town can be profitable on occasion. And the other thing I want to note is and congratulate the Atlantic City Police Department on the duly noted reduction in crime in Atlantic City. While CRDA may not necessarily seem as though it's tied to the reductions in crime, things like this are very positive when it comes to talking to people who we're trying to encourage to risk their private dollars investing in the tourism district of Atlantic City. So congratulations to the police department. I do want to also note that when they talked about how they were able to reduce it, part of it was attributable to technology, and a lot of that technology was paid for by the board here at CRDA. So, that's all, Kevin.
Thank you, Matt. We have several proposed action items on the agenda for today. The first action item relates to Showboat Renaissance LLC, preliminary and final site plans approval. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority granting preliminary and final site plan approval for the conversion of the existing Showboat Premier Light Tower from its current use as hotel to apartments located at 801 Boardwalk, Block 61, lots 22 through 26, under application 2018-10-2520.
Anybody need to be recused from this? Matt, you want to describe the action required here?
Sure, this is a conversion of 400 hotel rooms to 264 apartment units. The property is located within the Resort Commercial District, which does permit multifamily dwellings. The applicant has requested major preliminary and final site plan approval with no variances to allow the change from hotel rooms to apartments. There's no site changes to the property, and only minimal signage will be added. Parking will be provided on site. A public hearing was conducted on the application on October 18th, 2018, and based on the evidence and testimony provided as outlined in the hearing officer's report, the preliminary and final site plan can be approved based on the testimony provided by the applicant and his professionals, and based on solid land use planning and engineering testimony. Because of that, the hearing officer here at CRDA has recommended that the preliminary and final site plan be granted.
Board discussion.
Couple questions.
Rich.
In this findings of fact, we have 400 going to 260, and the balance of the facility remain a hotel use. What is the balance of the facility?
Oh, the remaining number of rooms?
Yeah.
Lance, do you know the remaining number of rooms?
Yes, so the whole tower, the Premier Light Tower, will be converted to the apartments. I don't know the balance of the hotel rooms for the
On the
rest
other
of the
side.
hotel. it goes from 400 to 264 because they're taking, say they want to do a 2-bedroom apartment, it takes 3 hotel
I-
rooms to do that.
I get all that.
Okay.
The sentence says the balance of the facility remain a hotel use. What is that balance? That's all I'm
I
asking.
don't think we have that number.
I don't know, at my fingertips, I
But
don't.
the use is not changing, it's
No,
gonna
it's not.
remain a hotel.
I just wondered because the
Oh,
lease,
Ben Kaufman's here from the applicant, he can maybe.
There's
answer my
approximately
question.
850 hotel rooms remaining after the conversion.
thank you.
Thank you.
What that leads to is my second question, is that the parking will go from 522 to 248. Is that the entirety of the parking to service those 850 hotel rooms? Or is there more?
There's the garage that also houses numerous parking spaces. There was adequate parking, they met the requirements.
Okay.
Under the standard.
That's all I had, thank you.
Other
Just to
questions by
follow
members
up,
of the
I may-
board?
Just so Richard can understand this, there's really two major parking lots. There's a surface lot as well as a garage lot.
Garage.
Right.
When you add the two together, how many remaining spots are not reserved for the apartment owners?
The requirement under, and this is what we reviewed, the requirement under residential standards are under RSIS, or a statewide standard. Depending on the number of bedrooms, up to 2, you could have 1.8 spaces. So the parking requirement actually went down with this use changeover from hotel to residential. I don't know the exact numbers of how many spaces are designated for each. Ben, do you know?
I don't. The entire property has approximately 2,500 spaces.
Right, that's what I recall. They far exceeded the requirements under both our standards for the hotel and the RSI standards for residential.
Which is why they didn't need any variances.
Correct.
One quick question, do they have a construction schedule for this? When the,
From what the testimony was, they want to have some of these units open for this spring.
May I ask, are these units to be marketed as rentals or timeshare or condo?
Market rate apartments.
Rentals.
Rental
rentals.
apartments.
Other board questions? Hearing none, questions from the public? Yes, sir.
I had a suggestion at the planning board meeting, and that goes along this line. New Jersey Avenue, the entire length, has an ugly construction fence. It's all rusty and crooked and everything else. It abuts their new parking lot. I'm in favor of the project, but I'd like to see that fence cleaned up, because it doesn't do any good. And then the other thing, and I don't know the validity of this, but it's my understanding, and Lance, you might know this, that they currently have their garage leased for Hard Rock employees, and that's why they painted it? You know any of that?
I don't know that, no.
Okay, so I'd like to see a fence, and then keep it clean.
Other comments from the public? Hearing, I'm sorry, Councilman.
For the record, Councilman Khalid Shabazz from Atlantic City. I didn't hear anything, if it's going to be apartments, I'm for the project. Is there gonna be a, affordable component to it?
Not government funded.
Not as of now, Councilman.
Not as of now?
Right.
Okay.
Other questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Gant, is there a second?
second,
Seconded by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Thank you, Howard. I drew a blank there for a minute. Next, we have a series of budgets, because of the way we're created, that have to be approved today. I'd like to read a statement before we do the budgets. The CRDA 2019 budget contains increased investments in Atlantic City directly in line with Governor Murphy's vision for a new prosperity for the resort as outlined in the Johnson Report. First, funding the Atlantic City Project Office, which will coordinate and execute the new initiatives for and investments in Atlantic City, is in the budget. That's $450,000 a year for 3 years. Second, providing 45 more Class II police officers for Atlantic and Pacific Avenues. That will bring to a total of 90 police officer Class II that the CRDA is funding. 3, continuing the safe and clean investment through the Special Improvement District. So there's some of the the CRDA's investments. A rise in revenue will also allow for an increase in the Meet AC budget. The CRDA funded organization charged with attracting conventions and business meetings to the resort. The nearly $8 million investment in marketing and selling Atlantic City to conventions generates a dramatic return on investment for the city. So in reality, the budget actions that we're asking the board to take today, I believe, reflect sound business practice and the commitment to fulfilling Governor Murphy's vision for a new prosperity in Atlantic City. The CRDA and the state are delivering on quality of life improvements while also encouraging greater private investment. And I think that keeping the CRDA on a firm financial foundation allows us to continue to fund meaningful community projects while engaging potential new investors in attractions and events. So I wanted that as a preliminary to the budget actions that are coming up today, so you have some understanding of the context within which they were created, and the fact that we've streamlined the budgeting process. And I want to compliment Matt and Kathy on a job well done in putting this together and getting everybody briefed on it before we go. So the first budget is the 2018 CRDA Operating and Convention Center Division budgets. Approval of an amendment to the 2018 Authority and Convention Center Division budgets to align certain revenues and expenses. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority adopting an amendment to the Operating and Convention Center Division budgets for calendar year 2018.
Anybody need to be recused? Description of the actions, Matt?
This is simply an accounting change, taking both Meet AC and the convention center budget and putting them together and taking them off of the general fund. The main reason why is the luxury tax funds, the convention center budget. This is really where they should be, and this is just affecting 2018. Doesn't make any changes or alterations to how the money's spent, just where it's accounted for in the budget.
And the other problem was in the last 2 years, there'd been a decline in luxury tax revenues, and we were concerned how we could align those. Now that the luxury tax revenues have gone up, we feel there's sufficient capacity to realign these functions the way they should be realigned, and to operate more effectively and to efficiently utilize the luxury tax funds. If approved, the revised Convention Center Division budget will more accurately match revenues and expenses with the proper CRDA division. Board discussion. These have all been approved by the appropriate committees. Actually, almost every committee has acted on each of these things here. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the 2018 CRDA Operating and Convention Center Division budget. Moved by Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deborah. Is for any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next budget to be approved is the Meet AC budget, which I just spoke about, at $8 million. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving the 2019 annual operating budget of Meet AC Incorporated.
Any recusals? Matt, you want to describe this action?
So Meet AC provides the services for convention and visitors here to Atlantic City. The budget is subsidized by CRDA, the Convention Center Division, utilizing luxury tax funds, which the nice thing is the chairman said, luxury tax funds are reoccurring and they are increasing, particularly large increases from 2017 to 2018. The total subsidy to Meet AC is $7,835,119. The total budget for Meet AC is $8,115,119.
And that gives us additional money to market AC. Board discussion. Public comment. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt the budget.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Debbie, seconded by Rich. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
The State Casino Reinvestment Development Authority from the judge
The,
Someone sent me something.
the next resolution is the 2019 Convention Center Division budget. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving the Convention Center Division 2019 operating budget.
Anybody need to be recused? Description of the action requested, Matt.
This budget plans for the authority's subsidy of the net operating loss of the Atlantic City Convention Center and Historic Boardwalk Hall through utilization of Atlantic City luxury taxes. The combined budgeted operating subsidy for the Convention Center and Boardwalk Hall totals $9,475,218 for 2019. Beginning in 2019, CRDA Marketing Division will be responsible for overall leisure marketing and media relations of Atlantic City tourism, as well as continuing the marketing and media support for Meet AC in the Convention Center and Boardwalk Hall. There's a significant increase in the marketing budget this year. It seems to make sense to now put some money behind all the incredibly positive things happening in the city. So we're gonna be much more aggressive in marketing the city at this point.
Board discussion. Public comment.
Is this the money
Councilman.
that's coming from the gambling?
No.
No.
Councilman.
Oh, I'm sorry, the sports
betting.
betting, yes.
Sports betting?
This is the sports betting money, right?
Sports betting money is a combination of this, yes. So it's a combination of luxury tax revenue and the money now being generated for the first time from sports betting.
Councilman.
I didn't have-
Oh, I thought you showed your hand up. I'm sorry, in the back.
Yeah, Mike Lopez, just I applaud the transparency in what you're doing and the combination of bringing it all together, Meet AC, conventions, and with the city also, Mayor. So, I mean, again, we got another shot at this. So I applaud it, and marketing, the 30 million we were getting a couple years back, it's a lot of money, it's done, passed, move forward, very good.
I appreciate that, and I think I can speak for the members of this board, that we've had discussions about our priorities and the things that are important to us, and we're working on that so that the money we spend, we're spending in things that are gonna improve the life here in the city. So I appreciate the comment. Other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the convention center budget.
Moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, so ordered. Next, we have the CRDA 2019 operating budget. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority adopting the operating budget for calendar year 2019.
Anybody need to be recused? Matt, description?
The CRDA operating budget historically supports CRDA's administrative, legal, finance, real estate, development, project implementation and management, and land use departments, as well as providing additional subsidy to the special improvement district. Budgeted revenues, these are revenues for 2019, are $12.89 million, which is an increase of $2.6 million, representing a 25% increase from last year from 2018 into 2019, primarily due to increases in interest income and tax override revenue. Tax override revenue are the ERDs that are in place. Forecasted revenues for 2018 are anticipated to exceed budgeted revenues by $1.19 million as well, largely due to increased interest income collected in 2018. The total budgeted 2019 payroll and operating expenses in the amount of $6,708,042 increased by 10% when compared to 2018, largely due to an increase in salary and benefits as a result of an anticipated 7% increase in medical benefits and 2% payroll increase, as well as increased insurance and computer repair and maintenance costs in 2019. In addition, there's going to be, we are working on adding staff, in particular for procurement, to help address some of the concerns from the OLS audit regarding contracts and procurement. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board discussion.
Question. I have a question, comment. We've talked often about it. A procurement person, I'm sure, is necessary. Question number second. Is there any consideration of a economic development person?
There is, and we're trying to work something out with the EDA and do an MOU where someone would come over from there. Unfortunately, that's hit a roadblock for the person we were interested in. So we're gonna continue to work with EDA to see if there's
Good news. Glad to hear.
another person as well. Because it doesn't seem like we're fully utilizing all the other state resources that are out there, particularly at EDA.
Other comments from board members? Public comment? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt the CRDA operating budget.
Moved.
It's been moved, is there a second? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Paul, can I do 5 and 6 in one resolution, or?
You may, Mr. Chairman, they're both at the same.
Yes. The next two items on the agenda, the first one is Facilities Management Services, approval of an extension of the current agreement with Spectra Venue Management for facility management services for the Atlantic City Convention Center and Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. The second one is Food, Beverage, and Merchandise Concession Services, approval of an extension of the current agreement with Ovations Food Services for food, beverage, and merchandise concession services at the Atlantic City Convention Center and Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. The reason for this is that we've taken bids, we have received bids in order to not lay people off for a short period of time and to work this out. We're putting a 90-day extension in here to Spectra so that we can fully vet the proposals that we have and make the best decision. Lisa, would you please read both resolutions?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority extending the agreement with Spectra Venue Management for facilities management services, and resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority extending the agreement with Ovations Food Services LP, doing business as Spectra, for food, beverage, and merchandise concession services.
I think that, anybody need to be recused? I think I explained both resolutions, the 90-day period with 3 options for additional 30-day extensions. Matt, do you have any comments beyond that?
Only thing I would add is that for Spectra, based on what we pay them annually, the current fee paid to Spectra on a monthly basis will be $15,548, and to Ovation on a monthly basis will be $7,232.
Okay, board discussion. Public discussion. Motion to adopt both the extension for both the facilities management services and the food and beverage and merchandising.
Motion.
It's been moved by Jim.
Second.
Seconded by Eddie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next item on the agenda is appraisal services authorization to award a professional services contract to J. McHale Associates in an amount not to exceed $200,000 for appraisal services on an as-needed basis through December 31st, 2020. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority awarding a professional services agreement to J. McHale and Associates Incorporated for real estate appraisal services on an as-needed basis through December 31st, 2019, with a total spending limit not to exceed $200,000.
Anybody need to be recused? Description of the action, Matt?
2 responses were received as a result of an RFP released by staff in October of 2018. The evaluation committee reviewed each firm for responsiveness, qualifications, and cost proposal. One firm was non-responsive and also had significantly higher fees. So the staff recommends to award as-needed contract to J. McHale, not to exceed $200,000. And the authority also has had favorable previous experience with J. McHale and Associates.
Board discussion. Public comment. Motion to adopt. Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Aye.
Next item, electrical services, authorization to award a contract to Hughes Electrical Services in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for electrical services on an as-needed basis through December 31st, 2020. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority awarding a contract to Hughes Electric Company, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for electrical services on an as-needed basis through December 31st, 2020.
Anybody need to be recused? Matt, you want to describe this action?
Oh, yes, the bid process was publicly advertised in the AC Press and the Courier Post on September 4th and 5th of 2018, and on the authority's website. Also, the CRDA received only one bid, and that was from Hughes Electric LLC of Pleasantville. So the recommendation is to award to them not to exceed $50,000 for electrical services.
So that the public understands, on these as-needed basis, sometimes little things come up, we need a contractor to deal with it, and we have them on file. This doesn't mean the money will be spent, it will only be spent if there's work incurred and duly authorized. Board discussion. Public comment. Motion to adopt. Moved. Moved by Mr. Tolson, is there a second? Seconded by the mayor. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next item on the agenda, architectural services authorization to award professional services contracts to Sash Architects, Craig F. Doty Architects, and Lamy and Giorgio, Public PA, in an aggregate amount not to exceed $100,000 for architectural services on an as-needed basis. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority awarding professional services agreements to Craig F. Doty Architects LLC, Lamy and Giorgio PA, and Sosh Architects to provide architectural services on an as-needed basis through December 31st, 2020.
Call for recusals. Description of the action requested. This is similar to what we just basically talked about. If something comes up, we need to change something in a building or reorganize offices, we have an architect to call on. Board discussion. Public comment.
I had a question. Sorry.
Motion to adopt, I'm sorry.
I'm
Maureen.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. I see it's up to $350,000 for 3 firms. Is there any maximum on the amount of work that any individual firm can expend or bill against
It's 100,000 per firm,
per firm?
which is total 300,000.
Okay. The resolution says 350.
I'm sorry, it's 100 aggregate.
Resolution
It's a
is
misprint.
350.
We'll address that and fix it. You're right.
Thank you. 100,000 max.
Okay, we had a typo there, I guess. The total amount's 100,000. Other comments from board members? Public comment? Seeing none, accept the motion to adopt. Motion. Moved by Mr. Mullins, seconded by Mr. Tolson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next, we have the Atlantic City Project Office, authorization to negotiate and execute an intergovernmental agreement with New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2021, in an amount not to exceed $450,000 annually. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving a fund reservation in an amount not to exceed $1.35 million from the Tourism District and Community Development Fund, and the negotiation and execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2021.
This is to put together the project office that was described in Jim Johnson's report, recusals. Anybody need a recuse here? Description? I don't know that there's much more to say. It's reapproved annually, but it's 1.35 million for up to 3 years with an annual appropriation of $450,000.
Chair, this is for staff?
I'm sorry?
Chair, this is for staff?
Yes, it's to pay the costs of DCA for staffing the office and so on. We'll have a memorandum of understanding with DCA, and it relieves us of the potential of dealing with additional personnel and all of the things that go with it. So I think that worked out very well. Board discussion, any further questions?
Just a
Maureen?
general flavor of the type of work that the staff will be engaged upon.
I think the idea is that they are going to help essentially project manage all the aspects of the Jim Johnson report. So everything that's outlined in the report, they're going to be tasked with making sure that we follow up and execute on it. And the City of Atlantic City has provided office space for them in City Hall, so they'll be right in the midst of local government and working closely with
And I
the
think
city.
too that when we have issues like the social service issues that affect the city, that affect more than we can accomplish, I think the project office and the executive board that exists is a way to finally bring these things together so that there's a resolution, because we need more than one entity to be able to solve the problem. And it's not that we haven't reserved the money to do these things, we can't get them done. So we're hopeful that this is gonna be a vehicle to get some of these things done that we haven't been doing before.
And it also creates the cohesiveness that we haven't really had within the state, because in some cases, you'll have some state departments doing or working on one particular perspective, and then another department working on another perspective. So it allows all departments to actually coexist and have one directive, so we can move forward and hopefully get processes done quicker.
Mr. Chairman, one question. Who would they be accountable to?
Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor?
Other questions from board members? Public comment? Councilman?
I'd just like to commend the committee for approving this, and I would urge you to support this. I have a feeling that you are. I think it's very critical. Mr. Johnson's report has been well received by us on the City Council and administration, and we believe in what he has said. But I think the important part is how you implement it, and this is an implementation tool that's very important and very, I think, critical to the development of Atlantic City.
There's no question about that. I think your comments are right on target. Other comments from the public? Yes, Mr. Lopez?
Just on board with Councilman, that $450,000, is that for just existing salaries or potential for employees from the city?
No, this is for additional people to staff the project office.
The intention is to try to get the staff it with people who have Atlantic City presence, experience, live here. Yeah.
That's my question.
Okay?
Thank you, yep.
Other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt the resolution. The move by the mayor, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. The next item on the agenda, Markel Paper Company LLC, approval to modify a loan obligation. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority pertaining to the MPMI Coffin Extraction Facility Project.
Anybody need to be recused? This is a legacy investment funded through casino pool bonds. The debtor is seeking to modify the terms of the payment to defer principal due and owing on December 1st to July 1st, 2019. Bondholder consent is required to approve the proposed modification. And to the extent that we do not receive consent from all bondholders, the authority will adopt a resolution that approves separate agreements from consenting bondholders and leaves unmodified the terms of payment for any bondholder that does not consent. This does not affect us dollar-wise. We were a vehicle through which this was done, and for that reason, this is really an administrative issue for us to approve, because we were the vehicle, and we have responsibility there, but not dollar-wise. Board discussion. Public comment. Yes,
Do we know what the outstanding loan is and why they can't make the payments?
they have, yes, we do. I believe the outstanding loan now is about $6 million. It's down from 17. They employ about 500 people, and they've done some additional financing, and they need a 6-month leeway here, which we think is reasonable, and there's no reason for us to deny it. Other comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yeah.
just one clarification. It isn't that they can't make payments. They're
I
making.
understand.
Okay, I just
Yes,
wanted to
I'm
make sure.
comfortable. Thank you.
Right, that's right. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself on this next one, Tennessee.
Yes, well, I'm not gonna bring this issue up now. We're gonna have an executive session to discuss it. And so I'm gonna skip that for now. I'm gonna go to the,
Rick. I'm sorry, Chairman. Rick, we're not doing that, I don't know.
Wait.
Yeah.
the wave parking garage, management issue. Authorization to award a 2-year contract to SP Plus Corporation and an amount not to exceed $890,500 for management services, maintenance, and operation of the wave parking garage. Lisa?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority awarding a parking garage management agreement to SP Plus Corporation doing business as SP Plus Municipal Services for management, operations, and maintenance services for the corridor parking garage, all in furtherance of the corridor parking garage project.
Paul, do I need to have a public session on Tennessee? Can I give the public the after we come out of session? Okay. I'm sorry about that. Board discussion. Public comment. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adopt. Moved by Mr. Tolson, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. What's gonna happen here is the Tennessee Avenue Streetscape Funding Initiative is gonna be discussed in executive session. And when we come out of executive session, I will have a public comment period for the people who are here so that they can comment on it before we reach a decision.
Mr. Chairman?
Prior to that, for people who are here, I'll open the meeting to public comment now from people who are here. Councilman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment. I might not be here when you finish the executive session, but let me say 3 things. And I took notes with regard to Tennessee Avenue. I think the executive director talked about risking private dollars in another instance. I would strongly recommend that this board positively consider this request because the people on Tennessee Avenue have risked private dollars. It's all private investment. It hasn't been any public investment, obviously because the city didn't have the money to do that, but we have worked in a cooperative manner with them. They're all entrepreneurs. They put their money on the line to open a series of businesses on Tennessee Avenue. That's number 1, and I think that meets a criteria that this board is looking for. Second thing I would stress is that Tennessee Avenue is an avenue that has been deserted for all intents and purposes. It's an area that needs reclamation in the worst sense. It's an area that can be turned around with investment. The third thing I would say is that I've met with some developers who want to do other things in the surrounding area, but they're looking for support. What do I mean by support? They're looking for development to go on. And I would suggest very strongly the council is unanimous in our support of it. And I won't speak for the mayor, but I am sure that the administration is in support of it. This is a area that can be a turnaround area. It can expand to existing places with regard to development. And I would strongly, strongly urge you to support this. And I would say this as I finish my comments, that the city would continue all of our support. We've put police presence there. We put public works presence there. We put all of the resources other than monetary that the city has in order to make this work. And when the new office comes there with the DCA, I'm sure that's one of the projects, if you approve this, that will work. Again, let me just say this. I think the other part, if you don't support this, I think it's going to really hurt our efforts to develop Tennessee Avenue. And if we don't develop Tennessee Avenue, that's going to hurt the other efforts that are really taking place in Atlantic City. This is an important piece, and I would strongly, strongly urge you to support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman, I appreciate the comments.
Yes,
Other comments, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Robert Preston. I'm the Acting Director of Planning and Development for the City of Atlantic City, and I just want to express the city's enthusiastic support for this project and the intergovernmental agreement. We've spent time already developing concepts, working on cost estimates. Tennessee Avenue is a problem or an issue that can be addressed creatively. And we believe that the financing through you, along with city funds and grant funds, will enable us to address these problems and reinforcing the statements of the councilman and speaking on behalf of the mayor. This is a project that is very important to us, and we're willing to work with DCA full blow on this and get it done. So we appreciate your support.
Other comments from the public, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Mike Lopez, as the gentleman just said, with the DCA, the city, CRDA, as a resident now, and who had worked with the CRDA Special Improvement Division, the Ambassador Program, and 25 years in the county as Department of Corrections, and on the street every day. So those jobs allowed me to be on the street, bouncing around for the past 9 years. And what's happening at the Avenue and with New York Avenue is amazing. The other night was incredible to be able to bounce through a couple different locations and the Irish pub too, and see what's going inside, what's going on there, and 200-300 people walking around in each establishment. I strongly, as the councilman said, just to take it into consideration what they're doing with their money, whether it's Collazo, Sanchez, or whomever it may be, is very, very, very admirable. And what we want it to happen, what I would like to see happen, is it just expand throughout the city. I mean, we got the district, Stockton doing what they're doing up there, down there, I should say, Central, the Orange Loop, and then what's going to be happening then with the North End. So, again, it's a wonderful thing. On my bike, walking around, and it's all to see this stuff come through fruition. And it's not about any one of us or any of these big, beautiful buildings. It's about Atlantic City and its residents. So, appreciate what you guys are doing and laser focus, man.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. Other comments from the public, yes, sir.
I'll comment on Tennessee Avenue. I'm in favor of it, but this is public comment area when I can comment on anything, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On the corner, I'm talking about the tourism district, and I'm talking about the corner of Connecticut and Pacific. Over 2 weeks ago, a light was knocked down. I have reported it to the city many different times. They put up a stopgap. Here's where I'm going with this. I have witnessed 6 accidents myself, the results of it. My neighbors have witnessed the results of more. It is not safe traveling Pacific Avenue. There's no stop sign right now going this way. There's a blinking yellow light going into Ocean. There is no stop on Massachusetts and Pacific. They have a stop sign coming out of Ocean. You have a dangerous situation, and one of the people I witnessed the other day, I'm never coming back to this city again. It's something that's there and needs to be handled. several different times. I've reported it to the boardwalk committee, I reported it at the first board meeting, I reported it to cops, I reported it via email.
Other
Who's ever
comments
in
in the
charge should
public
be
session?
fired.
Hearing none, I'll close the public session at this point. I'll accept the motion to go into executive session.
Can I speak on public comment,
Yes.
Chairman? Okay, great. Thank you very much, appreciate your time. Hi, everybody. Chairman Mulcahy, my name is Evan Sanchez. I'm one of the developers on Tennessee Avenue as part of the Renaissance and a co-owner of Heyday Coffee Shop. I'm here with a team of people from Tennessee Avenue. If you guys can just stand up for a second if you're here representing a Tennessee Avenue institution. So I just, if you could, just spare a minute, I would just like for everybody to be able to say who they are and what organization they're representing. We'll start with Father John, please.
Father John Thomas from the St. Nicholas Church, which is on the National Register of Historic Places.
Christian Correa from the Leadership Studio.
John Rupp, Piccolilli Pub.
Terry Merlino, Piccolilli Pub.
Barbara Russell, Piccolilli Pub. Medusa Dule, African Hair Braiding.
Jamie Hoagland, I am with MAID, Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall, and Rhythm Events and Spirits, which is due to open in April 2019.
Ellie Nunzi of the Leadership Studio.
My name is Perry Arsenis, and I own the Howard Johnson, Perry's Cafe, and also the Hong Kong House on Tennessee Avenue.
So this entire team would benefit greatly from the Tennessee Avenue streetscaping that's in front of all of you today. There are businesses that have been on the block for over 40 years, 50 years. Perry's been there since 1972. And other businesses that are about to open in Q2 of 2019. So you take the old and the new, and we're working collaboratively as a team to build a better block for a better Atlantic City, to create a scalable model for change in Atlantic City. So this kind of initiative is hugely helpful in our efforts. We are all working together, whether we've been there a day or 50 years, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you for your time.
We weren't trying to keep you out, it was just that there was no room, and we were gonna give you an opportunity to speak in any event, so.
Thank you very much.
Is this basically the group that's here, or are there other?
This is the group that's here. There were a few people that had to leave due to some time constraints, but there are people representing at least 10 businesses on the block and institutions.
So please convey from us that we appreciate their coming today. And it's just that the agenda was pretty long and before we got to this, but we are going to go into executive session and have a thorough discussion.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask one question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Howard.
What other priorities you see are very important for your success at Tennessee Avenue other than the streetscaping?
Well, the streetscaping is an important part of it. Steady and consistent policing is a very important part of the initiative. And I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody here if there are other things that people think that are important, but having that consistent presence as we get up and running is really important. Lights and people and police are really the keys to sort of making a safer, better block. So that's kind of the priority. Number one, safety, safety, safety is always going to be a priority.
Here's one of our concerns so that you understand. It's not that we're opposed to the grant. It seems a little early in the process before there's development to redo the streets and so on, because then as development occurs, you're gonna have to rip up the curbs and so on to put the utilities back in as they attach. And that's one of our concerns in trying to get over the hurdle here of how we handle this, and whether there's enough time and whether there's a condition in which we can protect the money that we're gonna put up and leverage here to get the grant. I just want you to understand the dilemma that we're discussing.
Understood. So there's already been millions of private investment that have come in from the smaller scale. There will be more that comes in, and this will help to enhance and to accelerate that growth. So as people are looking at Atlantic City from a development perspective, all eyes are on Tennessee Avenue and to the expanding Orange Loop. But Tennessee Avenue has been the start and has been the spark, and there are already developers that have come in from other parts of the area and the state, specifically because of the momentum that Tennessee Avenue is creating and has created. So the more momentum that we can create, the more change that we can make more quickly.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
I don't mean to sound like a planner, I'm not a planner, but in the Planning and Development Committee, we discussed just what you talked about. And Mr. Preston is a planner. I think Jim Rotella might be here, he's a planner.
Right.
And they have come up with a way that we can stage the development so that those issues that you talk about doesn't become a hurdle or barrier. We're sensitive to that on the city side too, because our concern is, as Evan and the rest of the businesses have indicated, that we develop momentum. But we're also sensitive to the fact that if we don't plan correctly, that momentum can be elapsed or
We understand
or
that, we
sustainable.
understand.
But we have discussed that, and so maybe our plans can talk with your staff people about that.
So social services and rooming houses are challenges for the block right now. You know, we as individual businesses, as collective businesses, are doing our best to create more positive momentum. There's some headwinds that are basically blocking some of that progress. So, you know, we believe that there are a number of illegal rooming houses that are on our block and in the surrounding area. They are not in compliance with land use, as we understand it. So they are certainly challenges for our businesses, and that cleanup is incredibly important, so that we can continue to bring in more and more positive, impactful businesses and organizations.
So it sounds like this is, from what I'm hearing, this is one piece to a complicated puzzle of the sort of evolution of.
Absolutely. I think the key is sort of figuring it out in a small area and then being able to scale it. So my background is in startups. So what you would do is you would nail it and then scale it. And so what we've always said is that if you can figure out in a small area that has been historically challenged, then you can figure out in a lot of other parts of town. We are already figuring it out. We already are making positive change. I welcome everybody here to come down to the various businesses on Tennessee Avenue that have been there for 50 years or opening soon. So, but it is a complicated thing, and that's why we need to look at it comprehensively. And I appreciate, Chairman McCleary, your point of view that we need to build for a long-term future. So anything that is done from a planning perspective, we need to think about how we build infrastructure so that we can support larger scale development, because that will be coming sooner rather than later based on the momentum we're already creating on Tennessee Avenue and the surrounding blocks.
Two things. One is we're very familiar with the issue with the rooming houses. We have a very creative executive director who got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go down and observe what goes on. And so we got a pretty good idea. But Mr. Preston or Mr. Rotella, how would you stage this? Understanding our concerns here.
One of the problems that we've been trying to deal with is Tennessee Avenue doesn't have that service access, that service corridor. So right now, everything is coming right down the street. We've got trash, we've got deliveries, we've got things that have to be dealt with and coexist with the businesses and with their patrons. So we want to create the ability to deal with those services and at the same time allow for the pedestrians to use the street and enjoy themselves.
Well, and I want to get to the point the councilman raised. How would you stage this to meet our issue?
Clearing the issue is, there's some of us that have 40-plus years in the construction industry that feel as though we may have the cart before the horse a little bit. That we're going to do all this beautification in the street, we have this anticipated development coming in, and the $2 million in totality, not just the $1 million from us, is going to be disrupted. We don't want to see that happen. So has consideration been given to, can parts of this be implemented in part so that this doesn't happen? So we're not in 3 years going back and redoing streetscapes.
Without a doubt, I think beautification is a misnomer here. We're talking about infrastructure and making
Well,
it.
we're talking, the list in front of me is much more than just infrastructure, but go ahead.
But I'm saying these are pieces to this puzzle that need to be done, that we will work to maintain and work around. I don't see it as a problem that we're going to have to redo as the street becomes more and more successful.
Another question, we have a grant before us, we went through it.
Yes.
Hearing you speak today as the planning director for the city, is there a plan that we can see or our staff can see that phases this in?
Well,
because what we have before us is not a plan.
No.
And what we're asking is, how will this be staged? How do we plan? A lot of great ideas. I've heard some things from Mr. Sanchez here. He's dead on right. A lot of things he's talking about aren't in this grant. So what's the plan?
Okay.
No, the planning director said there's a plan.
Right.
You're the grant writer. I'd like the answer from the planning director.
They work in concert, though, sir.
That's all right. He's the boss.
we did not do a physical plan. We did a concept and a cost estimate.
Is the concept what we saw here from
Yes,
Rutgers?
yes.
That's not a plan, that's concept.
No, yes.
I got it, okay. You said
In order to
plan.
meet, in order to, I'm sorry, in order to meet the requirements of the grant.
Okay.
Here's, and so I understand, so if things move forward the way you would like things to move forward, you receive the grant, then you can go through, at that point, you can go through the process and
Come up with
exactly come up with
Yes,
come up
yes,
with
absolutely.
a plan.
What would be the cost of developing the plan? And how would that be paid for?
I would assume that it would come out of the grant. I mean, if.
It's not in the grant now.
If we got the matching funds for the grant, I would say somewhere between 10 to 15% of it would be the development of the.
This would be a private vendor that you would hire to do the plan?
We would solicit proposal, yes.
Okay.
See, here's, this gets to the issue of some of the board members here. We're not opposed to what you're doing. What we don't wanna do is we've done with other projects is put $1 million there and it doesn't get spent and the time runs out and we've just thrown away the money. That's why the board members are raising the issue. There is no, and what are we giving the money to?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, every time you apply for a grant, there is not a plan. When you apply for a grant, you use a cost estimate, you use a concept, just as the gentleman mentioned. That's the starting point. We don't spend public funds if we don't have the funding. Once you receive the grant, there's funds available for design. Then we go through the design process. Then we come up with a phasing plan. We can work with your staff in doing that. Obviously, we'll be working with the business owners as well to make sure it's something that works. So we have that time. It'll be an evolution. And this is the way every grant works. It's not just this, it's every road grant, every streetscape grant that we do throughout the city and in other cities. So we're really at the first stage, but the reality is, if the best way for us to get in position for this grant is to leverage it. And by leveraging
we're the
it,
leverage.
you're the leverage,
I understand
and that's
that. We all
important.
do. The problem, the question is the cart before the horse, and do we invest the money and hope that it's gonna work out because there is no plan? That's the dilemma we face.
And in every case, when there's a streetscape project, and we've done a dozen in Atlantic County alone, there was never a plan when you applied for the grant. Once we got the funds, the project was designed, and it's been implemented. And I can show you many of the projects throughout the county.
I understand that, and maybe that's not the right way, because I've had grants too. And it was a very specific proposal laid out for what the money was gonna be used for.
Just the cost estimate, that's all that's required, and that's all that we provide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I speak as a resident toward this and as a broker and a developer? Firstly, I don't know any resident that isn't in favor of making Tennessee Avenue shine, including if it might be a little premature. Secondly, today I was out of town meeting someone with $200 million. The tactile experience of touching a new tree or touching a new sidewalk may be what brings that man to town to spend his $200 million. Thirdly, Margate. Debbie's very familiar with Margate and what it used to be and how it is now. It started with a new bulkhead, it started with a couple of trees, it started with a fun fest. It developed and it caught its own momentum. Tennessee Avenue is in the middle of a momentum, and I think that what you are asking for is support to your momentum to show that we can do this, Atlantic City can do this. So, as someone who has watched many plans not take off or succeed by the CRDA, I'd love to see you back this concept.
Just one last word if I could, Jim.
Sure, go ahead.
In terms of plans, I don't think you're gonna find a more willing, able, and capable group to help to formulate a plan that will be successful in the long haul, that takes account of the short-term reality and where we want to take this project, than these people that are in the room and others that are outside of it that are already committed to the project and more that will commit to it. So I would never ask for support to even create a plan unless I knew that the plan could be built properly and executed on properly. And I think that we've already shown that we can figure things out at the small scale and sort of build that momentum to continue to grow and grow and grow. So,
I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one last comment,
Yes.
brief comment. Let me say, I share your concern and the other board members' concern as an elected official with our fiduciary responsibility to protect the integrity of public funding. I get that, and we are in the same page on that. Maybe as a suggestion, if it would make sense, if the board supports this, maybe you can assign some of your staff members to work with our staff and the business owners going forward as a team, so that there's a constant oversight on the expenditure of the money, so everybody has a comfort level. And I get that. I understand the past history of CRDA, but again, and everybody said it, this is, in my mind, a very, very critical project that we need your support on. So if that, maybe that would help give another level of comfort to the board that the money is going to be spent in a responsible way, and it's not going to be wasted. It's not going to just sit in someplace.
I assure you, if we go ahead, we'll put that together. Any other comments that we haven't heard?
Yeah, I have one. As an observation, it'd be a 20-second one. 20-second observation that what's going on here at Tennessee Avenue and New York Avenue together is not a Pinnacle Park. And I understand the concern to not have something built for nothing that not going to be used. So my observation, along with many others, is that this is not what's happening there, what happened at Pinnacle, and I'm just using that as an example. So thank you, and thank you guys for what you're doing.
Okay, any other comments?
I'd like to make a comment. As a citizen of Atlantic City, I've been here for 12 years, and I moved here from California. And the Tennessee Avenue project, I mean, I believe they have a plan, and the plan has improved the quality of life for all residents of Atlantic City, starting with the leadership studio that first opened. Now we have a coffee shop, and now a new beer hall that's bringing new attractions to the city. And when I talk to other people about the city, it's now given me something to be proud about our city that we're doing to move forward. And I applaud everything that they've done in the project so far, and I appreciate the help from the board to move it forward.
Sir, just, can we have your name for the record?
Darryl Boltice.
Okay, we're now going to go into executive session. We will report out the actions of the board. You're welcome to wait out there. We're going to have a thorough discussion, and I want you to all understand, we appreciate your coming, your enthusiasm, and your desire and your passion on this issue. So please don't misunderstand the questions that were asked, because we have our own fiduciary responsibilities, and we get pilloried around in the public press for a lot of things that we thought were good actions for Atlantic City. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your being here. We'll give you an answer shortly.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Move.
Second. Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Howard.
Those-
Howard.
After a thorough discussion, we have a resolution to offer. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving an intergovernmental grant in an amount not to exceed $1 million from the Tourism District and Community Development Fund to the City of Atlantic City for the Tennessee Avenue Streetscape Funding Initiative.
Board comment.
I was going to say this in the other meeting. A lot of times we go through our agenda with not a lot of feedback in the public part of it from the board, but I want to assure the public that there is thorough vetting you through committees, and certainly in this just most recent executive session, that a ton of consideration is to protect the public interest and support the private interest in the city. It isn't that we don't have comment on it. I just think, for the record, that we reflect that due diligence is done.
I also want to say that there was a lot of weight placed upon the commitment of all of you. This was different than other times, and we're very appreciative of the commitment that all of you have demonstrated in this process today. So we're banking on you. We're banking on the Office of DCA and Mr. Long, and we're banking on Mr. Doherty and Creta to put this together to make it work. So with
It didn't
that.
hurt bringing Father John, just saying.
That was a nice.
That got filled up.
In any event, I'll accept the motion on the resolution.
Well, in anticipation of close coordination between the city and CRDA, I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Rob, I appreciate that very much. Is there a second?
A second.
Been seconded by Mo. Any further discussion from, okay. Any further I'm sorry about that. Any public comment? Thank you all. Now, we have a motion on the floor with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. You're done.
Thank you.
You're just starting, actually.
I was saying, this is the start, exactly. Thank you very much.